Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys my way too early Washington Commanders 53-man roster projection for the 2022 NFL season. I'll also talk about some possible surprise cuts that the Washington Commanders could make, so stay tuned for that. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Now let's get right into it. Also, guys, ignore the cap space right there, -9 million. That is incorrect. I don't know what they currently have, but it's definitely over -$9 million. But let's get started. So this was definitely a tough exercise to do because, I mean, first off, it is really early. I'm recording this on 19th. It'll probably go out within 10 days from that. But like, there's a lot of moves that the Washington Commanders could still make, and like the depth on the offense is solid, but on the defense, like, it's really hard to predict like who's going to be the fifth linebacker, who's going to be the last cornerback. Same thing with some of the safeties as well, and the defensive line. It's really tough. But we're going to try to do that today. Get it down to 53 guys. It's going to be hard, but let's first start off with the guys that, like, we know these guys aren't going to make the roster, so we'll go to the bottom. So obviously Phidarian Mathis is going to make it. You know, Justin Hamilton, they recently signed him. You know, I guess he has a path to make the roster because they don't have great defensive tackles, but I don't think he's going to make it. Same thing with Willie Beavers. So we're just going to go through some of these like obvious guys that aren't making the team. Aaron Montero, yeah, he's a tackle. They don't have that many tackles on the team, but last year they carried 3 tackles, so you know, I don't think they're going to carry him. Same thing with this guy. So there's a bunch of guys like this right here. This is kind of the easy part, like the guys that are obviously not making the roster. And then after that, we'll try to go position by position who's going to make the roster. So here, you know, Tyler Clark, don't think he's going to make the roster. Same thing with Kyrick McGowan. Let's go through that right there. And yeah, I mean, you know, a bunch of these guys, though, will make the practice squad. A bunch of the guys will make the practice squad, you know, especially some of these receivers and linemen. Like, they love to take linemen on the practice squad, but it's going to be very hard for a lot of these guys to make the team. So those are a lot of the obvious guys. You know, I know a lot of people like Jacob, the defensive end, undrafted free agent. He could possibly make the practice squad. Who knows? Maybe he makes the back end of the roster. But I just think other guys who've been in the league for a while have a much higher chance of making the roster than him. So, I mean, there's still some obvious guys that aren't going to make it, but we'll start going through position by position, seeing who makes the roster. I don't think John Toth is going to make it as well, and DeJohn Harris won't make it. So we're kind of down. We still have so many players. We're at 78 players. We cut it down by 12 with like the really obvious players right now. Now we'll go position by position just so it's not really super boring. So first, quarterback. I think this is very obvious. Carson Wentz is going to make it. He's the starter. Heineke's going to make it. He's going to be the backup. And then Sam Howell will be the third quarterback. And then Cole Kelly, you know, a lot of people like him, 6'8", has some great stats. I think he will make the practice squad. He's like the perfect practice squad quarterback. So I'm going to go to him. We'll go ahead and cut him, but he'll very likely go to the practice squad if he ends up, you know, clearing waivers, unless another team ends up getting him. So running back, you know, this is a tough one for me. I was debating going between 3 and 4 running backs. You know, Gibson, Brian Robinson, and J.D. McKissick. Those guys are locks. But then the debate is, do they keep Jarrett Patterson, or maybe does Jonathan Williams make it? I think if they keep 4, it'll be Jarrett Patterson, and I'm going to have them keeping 4. I know some people think they're only going to keep 3, and that definitely could be the case. I would not be surprised either way, but I think it's going to come down to who will clear waivers. So I think your 4th tight end will clear waivers. I don't know if Jarrett Patterson will clear waivers, especially if he has another good camp, if he has another good preseason like he did last year. Like, that's why he made the team, because, you know, he probably wasn't going to clear waivers. I know there's Jonathan Williams, so I think those are the only running backs I have to cut right there. Like, there's some guys on this list that I think should make the roster and might be on the week 1 roster, but they won't be on the final 53-man roster. Also, let me cut Dion Calhoun. He's not making it. So we're down to probably around 72. 72 players right there. So that's the running backs. Now we go to tight end. So this is going to be interesting because you have to factor in Logan Thomas, how he's recovering from the injury. I think Logan Thomas obviously will make he'll make the 53-man roster. The question is he going to be on IR? And if he's on IR, you have to put him on IR after the first 53-man roster is finalized, or else he's out for the season, or is he on the PUP list, which is out for like 6 weeks of the season. So I think what's going to happen is Logan Thomas, he could just be healthy for the start of the season, or maybe he misses a couple games. 2, they put him on IR. I believe it's 4 games now, so he would be out for 4 games. So, but they would place him on IR once the roster is finalized, and then they would call another tight end up from the practice squad. So I think they'll keep 3 tight ends to start, and I think that'll be Logan Thomas, John Bates, and Cole Turner. But I think they will call up a tight end, so it could be AGG, Curtis Hodges, Samus Reyes, Armani Rogers, I believe that's his name. I just think this is a situation where none of those guys, in my opinion, unless they have insane preseasons or camps, none of those guys are going to, no one's going to claim any of those guys. No one's going to claim any of those guys and put them on their, 53-man roster. But Washington could let them, get to waivers, let them hit waivers, hopefully clear, and then call one of those guys up. Curtis Hodges could be that guy. Could be Samus Reyes if he ever gets healthy, and could be, AGG. So I'm going to go ahead, cut those guys, and I know Antonio Gandy Golden, I'm gonna miss him because I know they have him listed as a receiver here. So I think AGG definitely has a chance, but for now we're going to cut him right there. So, that's it. And I'm going to remember to cut Alex Arma now. He has a chance, maybe. But if he makes it, then I don't know if Jarrett Patterson makes it. But he could kind of be used as a tight end a little bit. So I think we got it down. We cut a few guys there. So now let's go to wide receiver. So originally I just had Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, De'Ami Brown, Cam Sims, and one more guy. The first 5 guys that I just listed, those guys are locks. They're 100% making the team unless one of them gets hurt. And the next guy I have him making is Alex Erickson because he can play in the slot if you need him to, but he's more of just a returner. He can be our kick returner and punt returner. I think he will make the roster. I'm somewhat confident in that. And then those were the receivers I had him keeping. And then I was like, I originally had 4 tight ends, but I was like, AGG will, easily clear waivers. Same thing with a lot of these other tight ends. So I had them keeping an extra receiver, and I think it'll be Dax Milne, but would I be surprised if it's Markin Michel or Jaquez Ezzard? No, but those are the guys that I'm going to end up cutting, but those are prime practice squad guys. So if they make if they clear waivers, they'll be perfect practice squad guys that could end up making the roster. So we're down to 67, but we got to cut a few more receivers. Kelvin Harmon, don't think he's going to make it. Could be a practice squad. Could fight for the last. It'll be a competition between, if they keep 7, Dax Milne and all these other guys. I think Dax Milne, since he was a draft pick, there's a higher chance he gets picked off waivers, and they drafted him. They like him they drafted him for a reason. They like him, so that's why I'm going to have him make it. So I think those are all the receivers. Yeah, looks like I got all the receivers. So we're down to 65 players. So still got a ways to go. Offensive line. So last year they kept 9 offensive linemen, right? So I had to do a lot of edits, but originally I had them going 9 right here. With Cosme, Leno, and Lucas. That's how many tackles they kept last year. And then Norwell, Wes Schweitzer, Trey Turner as the kind of guards, and then Chase Roulier as the center, Tyler Larson as a backup center, Sadiq Charles. But from the reports, he's been struggling in OTAs and minicamp. That is a surprise cut that could happen. I don't know. It would be a little bit of a surprise just because he has that versatility, can play tackle and guard. So they really like that. And then those were the guys I had making originally, but then I made some adjustments. I took out a corner and took out a tight end. So I'm putting Chris Paul on there, but I don't know. That's 7 guards, so including the center. So it's a lot of guards. So I don't know if they would do this, but I think they would probably want to keep Chris Paul, and I think he's a guy that definitely could get picked up by another team because he was projected to go 5th or 6th round. So I'm trying to see if there's any guys I have to cut here. I think Keith Ismail, I have to cut him. I don't think he's going to make the roster. but I can't find his name. But at the end, we'll go ahead and find it. But let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. So defensive line, let's go do that first. So obviously Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Efe Obada, those guys are going to be your ends. They're making the team. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Vidarian Mathis, those guys are going to be your tackles. And then you got some hybrid guys. James Smith-Williams, I think he'll make the team. Was a draft pick, made the team the last couple of years. Is versatile, can play that interior line, which they need another guy. So that could be him. Daniel Wise, I think he's going to make the team. And Shaka Toney. Daniel Wise is pretty versatile as well. So let's go ahead and make those changes right there. That'll be definitely some guys that we have to cut. So going on here, William Bradley King, he could make it. He definitely could make it. I believe he had a sack. I'm not sure, but I think he could make it. Like Rutimi, a lot of these guys will make the practice squad. A lot of them will make the practice squad. Oh, I forgot to cut Samus Reyes earlier. Let's go ahead and cut him. Don't think he's gonna make it. I don't know. The injury's just too much, in my opinion, for him to overcome that. Casey Tuill, I was debating adding a 10th defensive lineman. I was debating between that and Chris Paul at guard, but I decided to cut Tuill because I feel like maybe someone picks him up, but if he does, it's not the end of the world. Here's Keith Ismail, gonna cut him. So I feel like we cut all the DNs we had to. DN/D tackles, I'm trying to see right here. Efe Obada, I think he's underrated. I think he'll be better than most people think. Okay, so we are at 60 players, so 7 players to go. So linebackers, last year they kept 4 initially, and then they put David Mayo on the roster eventually. So as I'm recording this, AJ Klein isn't on the roster. They don't have another linebacker. I think they'll sign AJ Klein or someone else, but I don't know. So right now I think they'll keep 5 linebackers maximum just because there's no talent really besides Holcomb and Jamin Davis. So let's go ahead and cut the guys I don't think will make it. Bryce Notary, I don't think he's going to make it. Drew White, don't think he's going to make it. Again, these guys have chances. They, one undrafted free agent linebacker very likely is going to make it. Farrad Gardner, I don't think he's going to make it. Let's see, we're going to go up here to the linebackers. Milo Eifler has a chance. He played for them last year. He got a start in that Cowboys game. That was bad. Not just his performance. I'm just saying like that Milo Eifler had to start. Like you're in a bad spot when that has to happen. So I'm looking here. I believe we took out all the linebackers. I think David Mayo will make it. I'm going to get Troy Apke out of here right now. Troy, I'll talk about that later. But I think we got all the linebackers out. So linebackers I think will make it. Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, David Mayo, Khaleke Hudson, and Trey Walker. We've heard some good things about him in camp, an undrafted free agent. So that's who I have making the team. Who knows? He could, if we sign like AJ Klein, then he might not make the team. But at this point, I have him making the team. We'll see what happens, but I think he has a solid shot to make the team for sure. So those are the safeties. Now, corner, William Jackson III, obviously Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, those guys will make it. Those are the locks. And I think Danny Johnson and Christian Holmes will make it. That's 5. The last 2, I think Danny Johnson's closer to lock than Christian Holmes, but I think the first 3 are definitely locks. The other 2, it's a little iffy, but they'll probably make it. After that, I really wanted to put Corn Elder on the roster because he's been doing really well in OTAs and minicamp, but I just thought like he's a guy that easily could clear waivers. Like he's a guy that I doubt anyone's gonna claim, right? So that's why I had Corn. I think he's going to be on the outside looking in, but that's another situation where I could see them cutting him and then bringing him back on the roster after they make a couple moves, like put guys on IR and stuff like that. So he's a guy I definitely could see making the team. So that's cornerback. Now we go to safety. So Cameron Curl, Bob McCain, Percy Butler, Derek Forrest. Those are my safeties. I know a lot of people want Reeves to make the team, and I like Reeves. I just don't think he's going to make the team. He's another guy, always clears the waivers, so he'll make the practice squad, or like he'll clear waivers and they probably can put him on the practice squad. So, had that big hit. I don't think that's a big deal, but, I think these safeties they'll have ahead of him. And Troy Apke, I don't think he's going to make the team because they drafted Derek Forrest last year and Percy Butler this year, guys that are really good on special teams. So I don't think they need him, even though they did lose to Shazier Everett. So those are, that is my 53-man roster. We got down to 53. I don't feel amazing about it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because there's just a lot of not great depth at the end. And then I feel good about quarterback, somewhat good about running back, just don't know if they'll keep 4. Feel good about tight end, receive. I don't know. There's a lot of guys where I feel like I might be 1 or 2 guys off just in terms of the number that they're going to keep. That's the real question. And I feel like it also comes down to who, I've said this a ton, but who is going to clear waivers and who isn't. Like last year, they kept Sammis Reyes because they didn't think he was going to clear waivers. So that is it for today's 53-man roster. I guess I only gave one surprise cut. I could see Sadiq Charles getting cut. I don't think Jarrett Patterson getting cut would be a surprise, but he's another guy. I've heard people say Wes Schweitzer. I've heard some people say that. I don't see that at all. And I'm trying to see some other guys. Besides that, those are Sadiq Charles is my only guy that it could be okay, he could get cut. But besides that, I really just Cornelius Lucas. He's going to make the team just because they don't have any safety. I don't know. Maybe Bob McCain, but I think he's going to make it. So Sadiq Charles is really my only surprise cut because he's likely going to make the roster, but he definitely could get cut, and that would surprise some people. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.